Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today we're going to take on an older one, a classic from the 70s. It's a smaller reel, freshwater reel. It's called the Sierra, and most of us probably haven't heard of Sierra, but I just noticed in the stamping on the foot that this was made by Compac, C-O-M-P-A-C, and it's made in Japan. So this is a reel from the 70s or the 80s. Compac did market some reels under its own brand name, and I'm not sure whether Sierra was a model or a brand number, but interestingly enough, it's got all the features that you would think you would need. It is a lightweight or a freshwater type of a reel, and we're going to take it apart. We're going to give it a quick look at. I call these tuition reels. This one found its way to me in a parts lot that I bought. I bought a lot of about 15 or 20 reels. This one was in there. Interestingly enough, at the time it was chirping, and it was simply that this line got caught under the spool. So I managed one before I was pulling this out just to give a quick look, and the reel seems to be performing wonderfully. This reel is not over-engineered. It's a very simple reel. It in fact just has a bale wire that's tension. You won't find a spring on it, but simply when you go to cast, it removes itself down. There's a ramp, and when it bumps against the side of the handle here, it will just trip it back. It's a pretty simple and economical way to do that. You'll find that on some of the lower reels at the time. Okay, well, I'm just going to take this apart. We're all going to learn from this one. We'll show you how simplicity of design works. We'll show you how to tune one of these up if you have one, and we'll give you an inside look into a entry-level reel in the 1970s. So I start by removing the exterior pieces. I wear a glove on my hand. I have a little parts tray, the bottom of a milk jug, where I put all the pieces and parts that I take off. And while I do this, I take the time to thank our first responders and essential personnel and everybody involved in keeping us safe during the pandemic. Your efforts truly are appreciated. Everything you do is a sign of your dedication, and trying to keep us healthy is such a noble task. All right, there is a series of drag washers that's kind of just associated here. Let's pull that whole spool off. You can see there's a felt washer, a metal press down, and there's a tension spring, sort of like the old tension springs of the Ocean City reels. So that simply sits on here, creates tension on the spool. The more you press, the more it locks down. So a little bit of rust in here, which tells me that stuff is all made of steel. We'll go ahead and clean that up, and we'll take a bigger look. This line has got to come off, and it's getting in my way already, but for now we'll just accept that that's kind of the situation with that line. Okay. And this is a felt washer. Usually I do my drag stack last, but since it's all open in here, you want to get oil on it with felt washer. You want to keep it saturated so that it doesn't dry out and tear. So oops, got it wrong already. So you're going to have this little star will go in. You're going to have that felt washer. And we got some accumulated rust on this metal piece, and we're just going to clean that up because the rust will inhibit the drag performance. So just clean it out so it's nice and smooth. Alright, so we've oiled the drag washer. We'll just leave those there. It's got to be reinstalled by using this post of the axle shaft to do that. Alright, so we're just looking underneath now. Doesn't appear that there's any ball bearings or anything in here. We're going to take the handle off next. That comes off in a counterclockwise direction. I'm sorry, clockwise direction. It was on in a counterclockwise direction. I want to make sure that I have the anti-reverse off. I don't know what's controlling that, but if you take it off, you have less risk of this thing catching and breaking a spring or something on the way out. 3 side plate screws. I'm using a flat-bladed screwdriver for that. Very nice, attractive little reel. It's got some kind of a coating on the top of it here. It looks like some kind of a metallic spray. I want to say like chroming, but it's not chrome. It's gold. Don't know what the plating is, but the plating looks nice and it doesn't appear to be corroded. Most of the time this would be a freshwater fishing reel for sure. All right, so here's the inside. Kind of neat. I like this for a relatively inexpensive reel. It's got some nice design characteristics inside. Just going to go push those 3 screws through, make sure they're all the same size. Place them into my tray. All right, so I'm not seeing. Let's see if this comes out. All right, there's a shield for the pin. Let's get the grease off the side of this. I'm going to use a spray for that. And I'm going to use a paper towel to get the old grease off. Put that little piece in there that rides on that cavity. Okay, when you get the grease off, you can recognize that there is a hold down screw here. So I'm going to go take that off. That should free up the axle shaft. I'm just holding that in place. And I believe what's going to happen now is this whole rotor will come up if we can get that screw out. This is kind of playing by ear. You don't know until you take it out, but this looks like one of those pin type screws. Let's see if we can just pull the whole assembly off that. There you go. So we have a pin that is a screw that the only way I could find to handle it was with the pliers. And it came out in a counterclockwise manner. All right, so once you take that screw out, then the shaft should come up. Remove the axle shaft, and then we can tell that the pinion gear is just a part of that. Okay, and that's your little oil port. Neat. Looks like we have a little bit of grease and grime and junk on here that's preventing that from coming through. And this looks like it's frozen on, so I'm not going to channel that at this point. But I'll take it from this side. Okay, so there you go. About 4 or 5 pieces and parts make this whole thing work. And the biggest issue would be in cleaning it. So we're going to grab this. Almost lost that little set screw. We're going to just run a cotton swab down the inside. We've already kind of cleaned the other portion of this. There are no ball bearings or anything in this reel. Very simple. Looks like we might have a little bit of old grease in there, so let's use a screwdriver as a scraper to get that off. That'll help performance. So sometimes these reels just find themselves to a scrap pile because people are afraid to take them apart or don't quite understand how it should be going, and then just kind of makes its way over. While I got the case off, I'm going to use the reel cleaner just to take off the other grease. It's a pen rod and reel cleaner. Find it very good on old greases, fish scales, things like that. So I'll just give it a little bit of a squirt there, run it down. Kind of an all-in-one cleaner, degreaser, and polisher. Okay, the axle shaft is clean, feels good. Let's go ahead and put some grease on that. We can kind of start the reassembly here. A little bit of grease onto the axle shaft. That'll take care of the inside of this. It'll also take care of the and then we'll grease up the pinion gear, which is going to go below that. That's all going to set through the top here. There's a little bit of dirt in that bowl. Let's go get that. So whether you're dealing with a high-priced reel or a low-cost one, the procedures are very much the same. You want to clean, you want to inspect for broken parts, and then you want to replace the lost lubrication and greases. Alright, so let's go ahead and set this in. Okay, so there were two pieces left. I'm just going to clear some of this out of the way. There were two pieces left to reinstall that after we've worked on it. The first one was that little pin, and I said counterclockwise before. I think I actually meant that it came out in a clockwise fashion. It will install in a counterclockwise fashion, and to me there's no easy way. There's no slot on this to install. It looks like it's just hand tightened. I wonder how they did it at the plant. But let's go ahead and see how much of this, if we can. We got it started. I'm going to see how much I can turn by hand. Alright, I was able to get some of that by my hand. One last little turn here just to make sure it's full. And it looks like we got a couple more till it bottoms out. Very interesting piece. Okay, then we have that little ferrule that was running on top of that. There we go. So that's the little stud that's going to ride. And we haven't touched this side yet. But before we do that, let's get that little annoying set screw in here. Okay, one of the things that you need to do to make sure that you install properly is there's a little hole in this collar. You need to align the one that's coming from here into that hole. Otherwise, you won't be able to get the screw to come completely through. I just learned that. Now let's see if we can do this properly. Once you tighten that screw, the rest should be easy, right? We hope. Let's give it a spin. Yep, spinning nicely. And let's make sure that our little piece is going up and down here, which is going to control our spool lining. And on the downside, I'm just going to put a drop of oil in there. I've greased it already. I'm just going to run some oil in there just to make sure that it slides easy, which it does. Let's turn our attention now to the main gear. So the main gear is pushed in. Let's push it out. I've cleaned the face of it, but I didn't get to the back side, so let's go do that. I'm going to grab a paper towel first. This is the old grease that's laying on here. I'm not sure what the metal is. It might be aluminum. I'm not quite certain on this one. It's got a coating on it, but it's a nice lightweight metal. Not sure when the reel was made. I think the accurate dating would be the 60s or the 70s. I'm just going to use a hard brush now just to brush the channels to make sure that they're clear of the grease. And here's the mechanics behind the reel. That copper stud or brass stud that we have is going to ride in this groove. The groove is offset, and as a result that groove is going to go push that shaft up and down as it comes to the varying cycles in that stroke. Backside is dead clean. Yeah, there's a little bit, as I was saying, and there's a little bit right behind it there. We're going to oil a little anti-reverse dog. Remember, we left that in the off position. We're going to put a little grease onto the shaft here. We can reinstall the shaft into the case. And then we want to make sure that we get grease onto the teeth of the main gear and in that track where that little piece is going to ride. So this is much more than a torsion reel. This is actually a nice little reel. People dismiss these less expensive reels or the older reels for a variety of reasons. I guess because they don't have 15 ball bearings in them or something. But the truth of the matter is these things are very dependable reels. And the lack of moving parts is one of the advantages to the reel. All right, so let's just put a little bit more grease onto that pinion gear up top there. Now we should be able to remount the case. You need to align the holes, otherwise your screws won't set properly. I wanted to test that anti-reverse. We didn't touch it, but I wanted to make sure that it didn't stall. So now we'll come over and we'll put the 3 side plate screws in. Hopefully this is going to be a little bit better of a project than the ones when I was installing that one on that main shaft there. That was a little bit of a challenge. So if you like this kind of video, I'm going to ask you to subscribe, and if you do subscribe, please hit the notification button. The subscriptions help my channel grow. The notifications help you in that you'll see all the videos that I post, and you'll be able to watch the ones that appeal to you, or watch them all. I work on all kinds of reels. As you can see here, this is an old classic freshwater spinning reel. It doesn't have a lot going on, but doesn't mean that it's a poorly made reel by any stretch of the imagination. You might like these. You might like the modern day reels. You might like bait casters, or ocean reels, spinning reels, all kinds of reels. You may be thinking of buying something and want an idea of what types of reels are out there. Well, that's what my channel does. It does all of these, and in addition to that, it does talk about some fishing industry trends and the like as well. All right, this is the bottom of our spool. As I mentioned, I'll take this line off at some point. We had this little star, which is a tension star. We have a felt washer here. We're going to go make sure that gets oiled again. The other oil seems to have worked its way in. Put that oil on. And there's a hard washer that goes up on the top. That's got a D-slot in it, so it's only going to fit on that shaft one way. So find the flat spot of the shaft and align that with the flat spot on that washer. And we have the old reliable drag tensioner. Now these are tension bails. There's nothing in here that's a spring, but you do want to keep them oiled. The tension on that bail will flip it when it hits the post. A lot of folks that have these slam bails, I call them slam bails, they slam into the side of the reel here to trip it. Just prefer to do this manually. I prefer to do it manually. All right, let's give it a test. There we go. Working nicely. Back pedal. Okay. Forward pedal. And then the bail. So the bail is going to come here and it's going to hammer here on the side. That's what'll flip it. You see how it just flipped there? We'll do it. See if we can do it in slow motion. It will hit that. As you turn it, it will flip it over. So that's it. This is your Sierra. It's a reel made by Compac. I'm estimating late 60s, early 70s. Very simple in design. A nice little reel overall. So if you see one out in the marketplace like I did, it was relatively inexpensive. It came with a group of reels. Don't be afraid to go buy one. And from a learning experience, don't be afraid to go take one apart, see how it's made, and see if it isn't something that you enjoy doing. So again, thank you to the first responders who helped keeping us safe. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe. If you have questions, please leave them in the comments. Doesn't have to be about this reel. Any reel will do. I'll try and answer the questions if I know the answers. And finally, if you have a reel that needs to be serviced, well, I do that by mail. And if you contact me on email, on the business card that follows, I'll be happy to provide you with that information. So please stay safe, stay watching, stay fishing, and have a great day. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle.